You guys have heard me talk about the Meridian High School basketball program a few times on the show now. Last year, I brought on Coach Jeff Sainer. I also brought on his son, Donovan Sainer. I brought on Drayson Fisher. And today we get to talk to their 6'11 post, who's a dominant force, a walking double-double. He's going to be telling us about the resurgence of the program, what it's been like to be part of it for the last 4 years, as well as his own career and what he's learned through the sport of basketball. You do not want to miss this episode of the Game Time Guru. So,
what time is it? Game time! Boom.
This is the Game Time Guru podcast, where I interview sports figures from all over the world to help deliver a panoramic view on sports. So whether you're a former athlete, one of the crazies, or simply a casual sports fan, this is the perfect show for you as we peel back the curtains and learn from our guests every single week. I'm your host, Shane Larson, and I'm helping you see sports through a different lens. What is going on, everybody? Welcome out to another episode of the Game Time Guru podcast. I am your host, Shane Larson. Here on the show, we've been going 4 years strong, and every week we bring on a new guest to tell their story and share something that they've learned being in sports, something that sports has taught them, and we get to hear more about their journey. And today's no different. We're going to be bringing on an amazing guest who I'll get to in just a quick second. Got to give a major shout out to my guys over at 208 Printing, the title sponsor of the show. Supporting local here in Idaho in the Treasure Valley. Now, the show's reached 88 different countries. We've had over 60,000 downloads thanks to all the subscribers and listeners over the past 4 years. But got to give a shout out to my sponsors. It wouldn't be possible without them. 208 Printing. Make sure to go to madeby208.com. If anybody has jerseys, shirts, hats, whatever they want to do, if it's a business and you got vinyl that needs to be done, go to madeby208.com and they'll get you taken care of. They got your shirts, your jerseys, your everything. If you want to be a walking billboard, go do it. Also, got to give a major shout out to AJ over at EBC. Go follow his Instagram page. He was on my show a couple of months ago. I want to make sure that everybody understands that you got to go follow him because today we're bringing on a high school athlete, and AJ is awesome at covering the high school athletes. So I want to give a shout out to him as well. I'll put the tag here in the description so y'all can go follow. Like I said, we got an amazing guest on the show. He's a guy who's representing number 22 over at Meridian High School. That was my number, so it's something that's near and dear to my heart. He's a 6'11", what we would call a stretch 4 or 5. The guy is super, super talented. He's a walking double-double. His name's Brody Rowbury. Brody, thanks so much for joining the show, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, brother. So, okay, it's funny. Right before we started actually recording this, I had texted Brody a picture of a tournament that we had both played in, obviously not against each other, but we played in the Bam Jam tournament. Now, shout out to Bam Jam. I've had Vince Hordeman on the show talking about Bam Jam 3-on-3 basketball. Go check them out. But Bam Jam's a local 3-on-3 basketball tournament here in Idaho. It's pretty large. You know, it's not to the size of Hoop Fest, but it is a pretty large tournament here in the Northwest. And a couple years ago, we were in the spring tournament, and Brody, I remember seeing Brody at this tournament. I didn't realize who he was or anything, but I remember seeing him around in various tournaments, but they always won. Like, Brody was a winner. He's been winning forever, right? So, Brody, we got to hear this. So I was introduced to you just by seeing you in random tournaments here and there, like 5-6 years ago. But how long have you been playing the sport of basketball for? And how long have you been basically just dominating the sport?
I've been playing since I can remember. I started playing like Y ball just like everyone else, and then I moved into club basketball in 3rd grade for Boise Slam, and I've had a lot of success playing club and just Bam Jam and whatever I played, I had success because we had the best players on my team, so in the state, so we were always very good and competed everywhere we went. So
That's crazy. So you were surrounded by winners too. I mean, that's iron sharpens iron essentially in this case. And one thing I wanted to touch base on too, like even when you were younger, you seem to be a little bit taller than everybody. And this is what happens is typically when you're taller, usually there's like a catch up spot where people start to catch up to you. Now you just kept growing, man. You're at 6'11".
yeah.
Do you have that in the genetics in your family? Did you have family members that played basketball that were tall? Like, or are you the tallest? Like, what's going on there, man?
I'm the tallest, so my dad's only 6'3", so he's not like super tall, and my mom's 5'11", so she's tall for a girl. But like, there's no one that's like even near me. My dad's side, he had like uncles that are like 6'5", and my dad's uncle played at Meridian too, or my dad's brother played at Meridian. So
Ah, runs in the family, the Meridian stuff, right? It's in the bloodline. I
Yep.
like that. Okay. So you are the tall. I mean, it's crazy to see your growth just continue, because I've seen a lot of younger kids that they're tall and they're, whatever, but then eventually like growth spurts happen for others and they get, people catch up. You just kept going, and you're a dominant force at the high school level. I mean, one of the things I really respect about your game, Brody, is the fact that you're able to do basically everything. You can shoot the ball. Like, you got really good touch outside. Like, you shoot the three. If I'm not mistaken, you shot in the 40 or 50. Like, you were really high percentile last year. If I'm not mistaken, I swear it was in the 40 percentile range. I could be wrong, but I thought you were shooting. Let's see. I can pull it up right here. 45% from the 3-point line. In 2019, 2020, which is ridiculous. But you're also just a dominant force by the basket. Now, talk to us about your game a little bit. Which came first? Were you always a shooter outside, or were you always the inside player? And which one came after that? Like, did you have to work on your three, like your outside shooting later, or did you have to work on your inside game later?
It's actually pretty funny. So, I was mainly just like your usual 5 inside, post up, whatever. And then 3rd grade, I got to club ball. Like, I could shoot, but I wasn't that great of a shooter. And then I got to club ball, and then we started running like 5 out with my coach. Or it was like 5th grade, because Mike Chatterton became our coach in 5th grade. And my mom was like, "Yo, what are you doing at the 3-point line?" And I was like, well, "This is the offense we're running." And then that's like when I really like expanded my game and become more of a threat from the outside. So
Okay, I see. So that's the cool thing about you, though, man. You're a worker. Because if we're going to compare stuff to, like, let's compare some of the professional athletes, for example, right, Brody? We've got people like Dwight Howard. He was a center. He's still a center in the NBA, and I loved his game, but he never evolved with the game. The game required you to be an outside force to some capacity, because the game of basketball has evolved, and a lot of these fives need to be able to have some sort of a jump shot. Dwight Howard never developed that, and that's why you kind of saw him kind of, you know, just kind of dwindle down a little bit. I mean, he's still, somewhat of a defensive force. He's got some of that. But here's another guy that I'll compare it to, Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin was always around the basket. He couldn't shoot outside of 10 feet from the basket, especially like his first couple of years in the league. That was one of his biggest things. Everybody would lay off of him because they knew he was going to drive, and that's the only thing he could do was drive. But then he started developing a jump shot, and he started extending his game to where he could actually shoot threes. And that's why Blake Griffin is still relevant in the NBA, because he's developed that outside game. So I always called Blake Griffin a worker. He worked on developing his game and evolving, sort of like yourself, but you did it at a younger age. You understood, like, okay, and you didn't lose that dominant force down low. I mean, when I see you play, just the other day, I was able to catch the game against Mountain View. Just, you're able to finish with both hands around the basket. You're comfortable around the basket, and you're comfortable outside. It's like you're comfortable, and you don't feel like it's awkward. And another thing I like about you, man, is your intensity and your energy. Talk about that, because I'll be honest, from the outside looking in, I had to ask AJ as I was sitting there, I was like, is Brody one of the, like, does he get loud, or does he just stay pretty quiet? Because, oh, no, he can get pretty passionate. Talk to us about that, like your energy and your excitement for the game.
yeah, I'm usually like a quiet person, like if you just talk to me on like a normal day. But when I get on the court, I like to bring a lot of energy to help uplift my teammates and uplift our play, which I think energy is a big part of the game. Uh, if you have good energy, I feel like you have a better shot at winning, and you're gonna play better. So that's one thing I like to do.
Yeah, dude. I dig that. That's a leadership quality that you have. I noticed that. Your team, let's talk about you guys this season. I mean, last year was awesome, right? Meridian kind of just took that. Finally, it was building, and you guys hit it. Good stride last year. Made it to the state tournament for the first time since 2006. And it was awesome watching you guys succeed. And then this year, you're kind of building off of that. One of the things I noticed about you guys the other day, in an unprecedented season where we have limited fans in the stands, but at first you couldn't have anybody in the stands. Like, it's a weird year. Energy. You just talked about it. You got to bring the energy. I noticed that your guys' bench, even everyone, they're talking, they're cheering, they're clapping. Even on the floor, you're talking, you're getting loud on defense. You're making sure everybody knows their assignments. Talk to us about that. It's like a brotherhood that you guys have at Meridian that some of the teams I've seen you play don't necessarily have that same energy. Have you guys been working on that? Like, tell us about the brotherhood aspect of your guys' program and your team right now.
It doesn't matter if you're on the floor or not. You're just locked into the game. everyone's super invested into the team, and they want to bring if they're on the bench, they bring energy for their brothers. If they're on the floor, they play well for their brothers. We just do it for each other.
For sure, dude. And it's so crazy because like everyone's sitting in like social distance right now, like 6 feet away from each other. And you see it so often. It's very hard to stay engaged in the game and stuff. But you guys have brought the energy. You guys are on the bench and you're still getting loud. You're jumping up, you're doing your thing to keep the energy coming. That's like the first team I've seen in the state so far this season that's like that involved. And that there's a reason you guys are seeing the success that you have. I want to talk to you about this. You've been part of the varsity program for a while now, right? At Meridian, and you've been part of this culture buildup to where you guys are now a dominant force. What has it been like being part of the growth of Meridian? You know, you've been in the thick of things. You've seen some of the downsides, but you've been part of the growth of it. Talk to us about that, and you know what it's been like being a player and a dominant player for that matter in this whole entire rise.
Yeah, so I started out on varsity as a freshman, and we had the talent, but we just couldn't put it together. And then gradually, like everyone just started coming. Like it was just a huge like mentality change for everyone. Like some of those guys just they weren't winners, is what I could say, because I don't like it just had to it was all up here. They had to change their mentality, and then once we started to change that is when we started getting a lot better. And then when Coach Sainer came in, because the coach before was Mike Chatterton, and then Sainer came in my freshman year, and that's when everything really just started to change.
It's a winning mentality. So about that, let's dive a little deeper into that. It's a mentality. You just kind of mentioned that. Um, what changed mentally for you guys when Sainer came in to the program? When you talk about mentality, is it just that the expectations were different amongst the players? Like what changed mentally from, because I've been part of programs where they're just used to losing. So they don't actually expect to win. Is that something that changed? Did your expectations change to where you're actually surprised if you lose now? Like what changed exactly?
Yeah, when Coach Sainer came in, he had big expectations of us and hold us accountable to those every single day. So I think that really helped a lot, and just changing our mindset because Meridian as a program hasn't been good for a long time. We've had 5-win seasons. We've been bad, and so just flipping the switch and saying, like, people come into Meridian and say, "All right, we're gonna win tonight, no matter like it's a free win." So you just have to flip the switch and say, "All right, now we're gonna be the dominant team, and we're gonna compete with the top level teams, do our thing." So
I dig that. I That's the crazy thing is sometimes it's just the flip of a switch. I think what you just mentioned was perfect. From what I've seen with Meridian, you've had the talent for a couple of years, probably since you were a freshman. You've had the talent there. There's talented basketball players. A lot of other schools, especially here in the Valley, get the hype for their record and this and that. But you guys had the talent. Sometimes it's just got to flip the switch of like, no, we can compete with these guys. And not only can we compete with these guys, we can beat these guys. We can beat anybody out here as long as we're a well-oiled machine. And you guys have started to just click, click, click on all cylinders, and it's showing. Going into this season, Brody, it's a weird year, a really weird year. And even at the end of last year, I mean, luckily, y'all got to play a normal season last year and finish up the state tournament the right way as fans everywhere. But then shortly thereafter, things started changing in the world due to the global pandemic. Going into the season, there wasn't a lot of clarity, so to speak. We didn't know if there was going to be a season. There was changes here and there. We couldn't tell what was going to happen. Club ball was allowed, but then school ball was getting kind of like put on the back burner. There's a lot of discussions going around here in Idaho for high school athletics and across the country as a whole. Talk to us about that. How did you guys prepare mentally to say, hey, like you didn't even know there was going to be a season. So talk to us about this off season. Were you guys upset? Like knowing that you guys could, like, this was going to be a year where you guys could keep that momentum rolling. Were you guys upset? Were you nervous, anxious? And then what are your feelings now that there is a season to some capacity?
um, we didn't really talk a lot about it, but we just kind of just kept our head down and kept grinding. No matter what, we just kept working hard. So whether there was a season or not, and I figured that there was going to be a way that we were going to play, whether high school got shut down, and there's still club tournaments. So
I want to talk about the club tournaments too. That's another topic. It's awesome. Like club ball is huge around here, and a lot of you guys play on the same club team these days. Like back in the day, it used to be everybody was mixed and stuff, but now it seems like there's like this shift where a lot of the high school teams are playing on the same club teams, which is helping them get some unity. Talk to us about those club tournaments and the club teams that you play on, and the differences between club ball and high school ball.
so I play ML20. So basically on the Meridian team, there's like two club teams that everyone plays for. It's either ML20 or Idaho Premier with Colin. And I think club's a really good opportunity. 2 years ago, my team got invited to play on the Adidas Gauntlet. So we went to LA, Dallas, and Alabama for their Adidas qualifier tournaments. And that was really good exposure. Played at big, like, convention centers and stuff. And I just feel like AAU is a really good opportunity to get in front of coaches and show what you can do.
Totally. I'm a huge proponent of club basketball if it's ran correctly. Club wasn't that big when I was in high school. There was only two club teams in the Valley. One was Boise Flight and the other was Idaho Select, and that was kind of the only circuits that you had. And now it's like there's a club team everywhere, but it's cool because if you get the right system and you get the right, people, you can get invited to the right places and get the exposure that you deserve. Who's the best basketball player you've ever played against then, whether that be here in Idaho or on the club circuit where you're traveling to these big tournaments?
Ooh. Mm, I would say Paulo. He's from Seattle and he's going to Duke. So we played him in like fifth or sixth grade. So
Hey, okay. Okay, crazy. Oh
yeah.
man. Now, talk to us about your practices, Brody. We're going to look at the practices over at Meridian. You don't have to give us details. That's your guys' thing. But how do the practices go? Are they pretty intense? Do you guys push each other? And who would you say? I mean, you guys are all pretty well, tight unit. But as far as like, who are you the closest to on your team? So one, how are the practices? How intense are they? And then two, who is the person on the team that you're probably the closest to as a teammate?
Practices are good. They're um, really intense. Lots of defense, lots of talking. Um, we like to compete against each other, make each other better. Our little motto is your best competition should be in practice. So we want to push each other so that game time comes. You've already seen level above that. So, and then who am I closest to on the team? Brendan and Joe for sure, because they're on my club team. So we hang out all the time. So
That's cool. That's cool. You guys get to play ball outside of high school, right? You're playing ball together throughout the year. And then, obviously you got the friendships too. It's typically how it is. Obviously everyone's good together when you're playing, but you got, friends that you chill with outside of that as well. So that's super cool, man. So let's talk about the season so far. It's weird. Some games get shifted around, but right now you guys are rolling. How do you guys feel so far? And how do you feel about your own performance thus far in the season?
we feel good. I feel good. I feel like we haven't played our best. We played really good against Eagle, but the other games we haven't played our best. So that's good because we can get better and keep pushing ourselves to get to where we want to be in March. So
Totally, man. So one of the things I noticed the other day is like, yeah, I mean, you guys had like a quarter and a half, 2 quarters of just solid basketball against Mountain View, right? And then there were some lackadaisical moments here and there, and you still were rolling. And that's what I think is so cool is you guys have so much room for growth still. So if you can put together a full 4 quarters, I don't see anybody being able to compete. I mean, your tenacity on defense, it's unbelievable as the team defense that you guys have is just unreal. The help side defense and obviously you right by the basket. If somebody does happen to get past the defender and they're driving in, they've got somebody else, they got a tower they got to get over. It's unbelievable that you guys, even with a half of a game of just like really good basketball, you still had a half that could have, you could have a little sloppy here and there, little mishaps that you can just clean up. Oh my gosh, dude, you still won by double digits. That is the crazy thing about how talented you guys are. How do you guys focus on, not getting, because everybody's got Meridian as one of the top dogs in the state, if not the top dog in the state. How do you guys block out that noise and focus only on the step ahead of you?
Oh, so we know we got a target on our back, so we just have to come prepared into every game and play as hard as we can and as best we can. Blocking out the noise. Coach Sainer has us locked in, and we're like a very motivated, locked in group. We're never satisfied. You can like we're not the type that's oh we beat Rocky Mountain like we're super like we were excited, but like job's not done, so there's nothing to be super excited for yet. So
I like that. Just like Kobe Bryant said, job's not finished. Job finished.
yep.
So job's not finished. I like that, Brody. Talk to us about yourself, man. You're a leader. Yeah, a leader on the team. What is your best leadership quality? You mentioned energy earlier, but tell us about that. How do you lead your team? Is it by example? What are some of the specifics as a leader so that these other athletes that might be listening and other coaches for that matter can hear it and take your example?
Yeah, I think I definitely lead by example, and I would say that I have a pretty high IQ, so I like to like talk to my teammates and like see what they could have done better and just try to make them better and everyone around us better. So,
Outside of basketball, what are some of your favorite hobbies? What do you do? Are you a gamer? Do you just what do you do outside of basketball, Brody?
I play some video games, 2K, Madden, stuff like that. I like to go camping, boating, stuff like that, some outdoor stuff.
Solid. Okay, I got you. Uh, the gaming, dude. 2K and Madden. Those sound like my games. I'm not a huge gamer. The only games I do play are like Madden, FIFA, and 2K. If I do play games anymore, so that's funny to hear that. Number 22. Like I said earlier, that was my number. It was a special number to me. Was there anything special about that number, or is that just the number you've always been wearing, or is that just the number that was available to you when you got there and you just stuck with it? Like, is there anything around that number for you that's special?
Um, Not, I mean, my mom wore 11 and my dad wore 44, so it's kind of like a 11 plus 11 is 22, and 22 is half of 44, so kind of just went in the middle.
Hey, I like that. Plus the double number. Okay, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. What are your expectations after high school? Are you planning on continuing to play? Like, what do we want to like see from Brody Rowbury? What do we expect to see from Brody in 5 years from now, or just even next season? Like, what are your plans after high school?
Oh yeah, I definitely want to keep playing. It's been hard because all NCAA athletes got an extra year of eligibility, so the need for the 2021 class is not very high. So I've been talking to a couple schools, and then I've been looking into some prep schools in like the Midwest for a year, and then hopefully go play Division 1 somewhere.
Totally. It's going to be a weird year for a lot of athletes that coming into next season. That's for all sports and everything. It's weird for recruiting. It's weird for everyone. Scholarship offers, everything. It's going to be odd, but it's not. I mean, you guys have already dealt with an unprecedented season this year. Next year's not going to be a different way of doing that. So going into the next level, right? The next level of basketball. Obviously, every level of basketball gets tougher and tougher. You're going to be playing against better athletes, better skill sets. What is the biggest part of your game that you can improve on that you plan to put in work in the off season on?
Definitely just getting quicker, lateral quickness, increasing my vertical, just mainly that stuff like that, and then just always adding more tools to my post game. I feel like.
Cool. Who's a player that you look up to? Like, have you ever like kind of tried to style your game after anybody? Is there a professional player, a high school player you've looked up to? I don't know. Who's one of your favorite players that you've looked up to?
Well, my favorite player is LeBron, but obviously I don't play like LeBron. Not many people do. So, one player I like to watch in the NBA is Jokic,
Ooh,
big guard.
a big guard. That you know what? That is perfect because that is like the perfect comparison too. Because he's got the skill set from wherever he's at. He's got the vision. He's just got the overall IQ of the game. That's a perfect comparison. Holy cow! So Jokic is a good guy to model your game after if you're a big guy like yourself, big guard, smooth. Just get the job done on all sides of the floor, whether it be near the basket, 3-point line, and on defense, and assisting and everything. That's awesome, man. And I'm also a LeBron fan too. I get a lot of hate for it. I'm a massive LeBron fan, and I would argue that you do have some stats like LeBron, though. You're a walking double double, man. So it's crazy. Oh man. So who's your biggest inspiration in your life?
Definitely my dad. I think he's always there for me And whatever I do, he supports it. He's always there to help me. I remember like back when I was a kid, if I was like struggling with my jump shot, I have a hoop in my garage, so we'd go out there, we'd get shots up, and he would fix up my shot. So he's always been there for me. So
That's awesome, man. That's cool. Been there for you. Good dad, helping you improve. Have you ever played any other sports, Brody, besides basketball, or has this been your main focus your entire life?
I played flag football when I was little.
And then you shifted over to basketball, like
Yeah,
at a
like
younger age? Okay.
yeah, fifth grade I stopped playing football.
Okay, I got you. So basketball's been your main focus going forward. Man, this is cool. It's cool to hear what you got going on, man. Let's hear this. So your favorite part of the sport, like what's the biggest thing that basketball has taught you? That's the better way to phrase that question. What is the biggest lesson you've learned through the sport of basketball since you have been playing it for so long?
The working hard is gonna pay off eventually. So I've always been a hard worker, and I will continue to be because I truly believe that your hard work's gonna pay off, whether it's right now or down the road a little bit. So
I dig that, man. Consistent hard work. If you just keep putting it in, and you have faith in the process, obviously it does help pay off. And you guys are seeing that on the court, but that's a life lesson that you can take in business and whatever else, whether it be academics, business, whatever. Hard work. You got to keep going. Consistent hard work, but it will pay off eventually. So don't forget that. Like, right. So like that's one thing I love about sports, Brody, is that I always tell people athletes are not just dumb jocks. I hate that phrase. They learn a lot through sports. Sports can teach you a lot of things, how to persevere, how to continue to grow, how to work hard and trust in one another, teamwork and everything of that nature. Man, it's always fun. It's always fun talking to people that are in the thick of things like yourself. So I appreciate you joining us. I just want to ask one more question. I'm trying to see how I could phrase it too. Just kind of like getting to know you a little bit better. I'm trying to see. I don't want to jinx anything for the rest of the season, so I'm not going to ask. Okay. I'm just going to give you the floor. Is there anything that you want us to know about Brody Rowbury or the Meridian High School basketball program? I'm just going to leave it that way so I don't jinx nothing.
um if there's fans, definitely come out and watch. We're a pretty fun group to watch, very talented. So hopefully there's fans by March for the state tournament, but I don't know. So
Yeah, so that's a good thing. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to tell everybody right now. I mean, if you can come to the stands, great. If you're a family member, whatever, come and watch. That's because they need that there. Granted, it was extremely awkward. I'm not going to lie. When I was there on the other night for Mountain View, like it was like, even though there were fans in there, it was like you could hear a pencil drop. I was like, what is going on here? Like, get loud if you're in the stands. But that's just my own opinion. I'm like, guys, come on. If you're allowed to be in here, talk. I couldn't even talk to the guy right next to me. I couldn't even talk to AJ because if I was talking, everybody could hear me. Yeah. I was like, okay. But the games are typically streamed. There's ways of catching these the games. Like AJ is doing. He's working with I think Mike to do the Warrior Network, and they're trying to stream the games at home. But there's also the NFHS Network. Make sure to check these out. If there is a stream of the game, show some support for the schools. Watch Brody. Watch the Warrior program as they are playing. You want to get to see these guys, and we actually have technology that will at least allow us to see the games, whether it be Facebook live streams, whether it's on the NFHS network, whatever it is. If they are playing and they have the ability to stream it, you guys should catch it. I'm telling you guys right now, they're a force to be reckoned with, and I'm looking forward to March to seeing what happens when you guys get to the state tournament because it's going to happen. You guys are doing great. Keep the momentum rolling. And Brody, I just appreciate you joining the show and let me just get to know you a little bit better. So thanks for joining the Game Time Guru podcast, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. For all the listeners out there, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Share this with your friends and family. Anybody who's a friend of Brody or knows anybody on the team, share this. Get to know Brody a little bit better. Get to know more about the Warriors. Hit the subscribe button. Leave me a review on Apple if you can. But we'll be coming to you guys every single Friday with a new interview. And we appreciate you guys. Take care. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review. It would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.